Welcome back to the Nerd Rundown's review of episode 5 of the Loki TV series titled Journey into Mystery, which is a great Easter egg to the early days of Marvel Comics when they were called Atlas Comics. I'm your host, Aaron Sniple. With me is my co-pilot, Eric Hare. Thank you for joining me on this amazing review. Well, thank you for joining me on this review of this amazing show, Eric. I'm having so much fun with this TV show. Maybe quite possibly the nerdiest show I've ever watched. It
for sure
feels so nerdy. And so Journey into Mystery, the title. Again, like I said, it's a callback to the early days of Atlas Comics before they were Marvel. The comic was called Journey into Mystery, and it was really when Thor and classic Loki were being introduced into comics, and classic Loki was what we saw in this episode which we'll get to. Love seeing that, but we start off with a very dizzying camera effect of turning the camera upside down, showing that shift in perspective and focus from the characters. The TVA is no longer, or the timekeepers are at least no longer on top of the TVA, and so it's turning your perspective right off the bat.
Right.
And it zooms in or pans into the wreck city of New York, and you get some really cool Easter eggs. This is an Easter egg show, so don't need to talk about them, but really cool Easter eggs as we pan down to Tom Hiddleston's Loki as the other Lokis from the mid-credit scene last week run up to him, and Richard E. Grant's so good in this episode. Really, and that's Elias. The big purple cloud, he says, and he's like, and if we don't get out of here, this is the void, that's Elias, and if we don't get out of here, we're gonna die. So they run off, and really cool cold open as it then cuts to the title sequence. What'd you think of the opening scene there, Eric?
Yeah, the special effects in this, and probably Incredible. Get to it a little bit later, but just they earlier in the series, it was a lot of character driven stuff. There was a lot of there wasn't a lot of, with the exception of the episode where they're on the moon, and the planet's crashing into the moon's crashing into that planet, and they really haven't dipped too hard into the special effects stuff. And this one was like, from the very beginning, it was all like really cool CGI, really great special effects stuff. And yeah, I mean, for him to, have that wake up, and then these guys are like,
yeah, it's the first of 2 wake up scenes in the episode. Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I don't know, the alligator just and we'll talk. I guess we'll probably talk about it just a little bit, but
yeah, no, we could talk about it now, because it's classic Loki. It's Richard E. Grant in the classic Loki costume from the comics. Yeah, ridiculous. The Halloween outfits in WandaVision, like
the spandex type. Yeah,
total ugly colors. Great horns though from the comics. You have boastful Loki, and then you have Kid Loki, and yeah, you get a little bit of backstory on them as they go on a walk and talk, and we'll get to that. But
right,
great little intro. Excuse me. Then after the credit sequence, we have Sylvie and Rensselaer picking up right where they left off last week.
Yeah.
They talk about the void, and we get a little backstory that when we have seen the TVA clip a branch in the timeline using their time bomb, that it doesn't erase stuff, it transfers stuff, and it transfers to the void, where all stuff goes to die as Goliath eats on it,
right?
Because you can't destroy matter, and that's actually like real science there. But
right,
cool little scene there.
Law of thermodynamics. Yep.
Yeah, cool little scene there as Sylvie and Rensselaer are a little back and forth. Miss Minutes gets the return, and anything with Miss Minutes right now I'm loving. So
yeah,
cool little scene. What do you think about Rensselaer's words in that scene, though?
So I can't tell if she's
she's real good. She's playing it good.
She really is. I can't tell if she's a true believer or if she really wants to know herself, like she's putting things together, on her own. And so she wants to know. I mean, I guess later on they allude to it a little bit more, but
she's playing it so good in the sense that
her cards are really close to the chest. Like, I mean, she's not really
totally. Yeah. And intentionally, probably. So
probably, yes.
Doing a great job at that.
Yeah.
Then we get back, we cut back to the void, which is a place at the end of all time again. And a great term that I heard on the internet this week, the brokies go on a walk and talk.
Right.
And we get a little bit of backstory on Kid Loki, that he was clipped he was taken by the TVA because he killed Thor.
Right.
Pretty crazy. Boastful Loki, we'll get a little bit of backstory on him in the bowling alley, and then Alligator Loki, who they somehow made him maybe the funniest character in the episode.
Absolutely.
With like sly little movements of his eyes, and
the translation too. Richard E. Grant translates for him all the time.
He's praying. Yeah, this is really great inclusion to this very weird episode. Very weird in the most possibly best way, and we'll get into a little bit more of that, but. They're going to walk and talk. We actually get a couple unbelievable Marvel Comics Easter eggs. First being, we see the Thanos chopper from the Spidey stories back in the 60s. Thanos is in a chopper, and he actually in that story gets arrested by the regular police. It's really like you look back on it, you're like, oh my God, this is Thanos getting arrested by the police. But you see the Thanos chopper, and then they go down into their lair. And as it pans down, you see Throg, which we briefly mentioned on the show last week. And I called it saying that I wanted to see a Throg on the show. And even if it's that 1 second of it where it's Throg in the jar and he's jumping up at the Mjolnir. So really cool. Tons of Easter eggs in this whole episode. It was like an Easter eggs party dream. You know what I'm talking. Party in your pants, right?
Party in your pants. It's the pants party. I'd like to invite you to my pants party.
Pants party. Yeah, so, what did you think about the Brokies?
Well, I thought it was hilarious. And I love the. Well, I should say it's hilarious. Like I did think the alligator was hilarious. And where Loki, acknowledges it, he goes, that there's an alligator here, and it's not even weird, like it's.
Which I have to be honest, it's all that weird to me.
It's all that weird to me, it's just like it's been a crazy time. Like I don't even know how long it's been, like how long it's been that he's been clipped. Yeah. But yeah, I thought it was cool. Again, they 6 episodes in the series. They do a great job of concisely using and precisely using the maximum amount of time to tell you the story exactly as you need to be told. Yeah. And so they cram a good deal of information in that Brokey walk real quick, that kind of gives you the idea, okay, this is where you are. This is where, this is what's happening all around you, and it's non-boring exposition as well. No, it's really great.
You just love watching these guys walk and talk. Yeah. It doesn't make you feel so you understand what's going on.
Yep.
Absolutely. You love watching these guys talk. Then we cut back to Rensselaer and Sylvie in the courtroom. And this is actually the scene with Miss Minutes, where we actually get to see the real kind of,
The
stalling. I was going to say slyness, but stalling is a better word. That Miss Minutes, nobody. It's not like she told Miss Minutes to do that. She just picked up on it, and then she even stepped in with the old Void spacecraft. And what this leads to is Sylvie pruning herself because she understands that if she wants to get to the people who are running the TVA, it's that she needs to get to the Void. Plus, she wants to help save Loki, and so.
Well, the foreshadowing, that they gave you earlier in the series, and you didn't even really realize it, was that she was always hiding in these apocalypses, know, and so she has this idea that whoever's pulling the strings, maybe they're hiding at the ultimate apocalypse, if you will, or manipulating that because you can't see past that. So, so that was really interesting. And again,
great point.
Gives that over to Renslayer, and you could see her chew on that. At least on her face, you could see her chew on that. It kind of plays into what happens later on when she goes to talk with
B-15.
With B-15, and so it's interesting, So
it just great acting by both of them in those scenes, in both the Sylvie Renslayer scenes. So we got back to the bowling alley, and the Brokies start talking their Nexus events, and boastful Loki tells this boastful story about I love how he says it, and then I got all 6 Infinity Stones, And I love the look that Loki's Tom Hiddleston's Loki, we'll call him Loki Prime. The Loki Prime gives him when he says he killed Captain America and Iron Man. He goes right off the bat. He knows he's telling a bunch of lies. But Richard E. Grant's story about his Loki story and how he talked about pretty much why he got his Nexus event and how he stated he started to miss his brother. I was like, God, this guy is in the most ridiculous costume you could be in, and
he's an actor.
He is acting his butt off in that scene. It was so good. And so Tom Hiddleston's Loki Prime, I'll get used to that by the end of the finale. So Loki Prime thinks he can rally the troops. He starts this really great speech about Sylvie, and he's like, let's go save the day, and kind of thing. And they all laugh him out of the bowling alley, and he goes up the hatch. He sees President Loki and his lackeys, which turns into one of the weirdest scenes we may ever get in the MCU, where all the Lokis are they're betraying each other and
doing what Loki does.
Those are all Lokis. And just again, wacky, and I loved it. So Banana didn't, but I did.
So I loved it. I mean, I thought it was really, really, really great. I think you have a kind of a dichotomy there and I don't know where alligator Loki falls on the scale there, but you have like Kid Loki, Richard E. Grant,
like Loki, a veteran Loki.
And then you have Sylvie, and then you have Loki Prime. And these 4 Lokis, and we'll just throw the alligator Loki in there as the same thing. They're all
I'm going to say there's a 6th Loki there and I'll throw this theory out later, but go ahead.
Okay.
Just remember this.
They're all self-aware. Like they're all self-aware of whereas Loki, President Loki, and all the rest of the Lokis are they're really not
they're just being Loki.
They're just being Loki. They're just who they are, but then you have this, but you have these ones who they're self-aware, as to who they are in the timeline and where they fall right now. So because he does give that great monologue about how he understands who he is in the universe, and and that he just needs to go away, and then he, and maybe the kid Loki doesn't have that self-awareness. Maybe he does, I don't know, but Sylvie definitely has it. She has a purpose, and it's not to sow chaos. It's not, it's something different, it's to
Right.
figure out who's doing this. And then you have our Loki Prime, that we're following, and his, his purpose now is something different than just the chaos, that the other Lokis and the betrayals and all the lies, and that's just what Lokis do. So it's just interesting that, and so watching it devolve, you're reminded that the Lokis are all, they really are just terrible. They really just are. And so that fight scene is just so great,
Totally. And Richard E. Grant's Loki, we'll get to this scene here in a second, because there's another great scene from Sylvie. She wakes up in the void and she's rescued by Mobius. So thank God Owen Wilson is back. He wasn't gone for long.
Yep.
And once we figured Loki, once we saw the mid-credit scene of Loki waking up, you knew that Mobius was going to come back. But there's a theory about that I'm going to talk about soon. But then they, in this scene, really the only important thing is she touches Eliath for a brief second and connects with it.
Right.
And from that, she derives how she's going to beat Eliath, which is, perfect that she comes up with this great plan. And then the plan from, the other Lokis, it's just like, let's run around it, So then they get back on the walk and talk, the Brokies, about their plan of action. They meet up with Sylvie and Mobius, and it's a great scene when they see each other again. And I love when Loki Prime sees Mobius too, and you can really tell that he cares for Mobius. So what do you think of the other walk and talk? Oh, and I was going to say Richard E. Grant's Loki, they come out of the hatch and he's just like, we're all broken. Right. And his Loki is the hero of the episode, and he really has such a redeeming moment from that it's such a powerful scene. It's not just a kick-ass scene that you can see Loki from the comics come alive using his magic and doing some incredible stuff.
Right.
It's just a great hero moment, and it's his redemption.
It's the self-awareness, the other Lokis, and this is just with anybody, but just with that particular character, because she's so despicable, just and not just Tom Hiddleston's Loki, like all of the Lokis, that's their job, is the god of chaos. I mean, even not to bring up a terrible one, but Jim Carrey's The Mask, the Loki mask, and he puts it on, and it just sows chaos. It causes chaos all the time, and so classic Loki is self-aware. He understands, that they are all broken, and Sylvie understands she's broken, and even our Loki Prime is starting to figure out that he is broken, and that he can have a better purpose than just sowing chaos, and lying and doing all that stuff. And we saw it, if you want to rewind to Endgame, and or Infinity War, I should say, where he
puts his life on the line.
He just is. And it was great. And so now you're seeing this guy from this timeline.
I think he's grown even more than that Loki by far. So. And the Loki we have today, I'm excited to see where he goes. And so they come up with the plan. The next scene we get Renslayer visiting Hunter B-15.
Yep.
Not much is derived again from this scene. It's a really cool scene. Hunter B-15 actress kills every scene she's in.
She's amazing.
But it's a scene that details Renslayer as just like, is she really trying to help, or is she self-serving here? Is she connected to King? Who the F is she? Tell me more about it. But that then leads into the climax of the episode, incredible scene where Sylvie or actually, I'm sorry, it's a Loki and Sylvie sitting in a tree scene.
Yeah.
Maybe slow
with the blanket.
It slows it down a little bit, which is good because the way it ends, it's a good lead in. And again, it's just building the characters of Sylvie and Loki.
Right.
They are totally in love, and I just want to put my hands on their heads and kiss. Kiss, which is it's such a weird feeling. It's not as weird as Game of Thrones incest, but it's still like it still feels
like
so
the time
weird.
cop. Is it like the time cop where the same matter can't occupy the same space? Where they like falling on each other.
Something I don't know, but their relationship is really it's good to watch. I love it. Yep. And so then they go into the final battle, which is where they try Loki and Sylvie try to enchant Eliath, and classic Loki again saves the day. Great scene.
Yeah, I mean, after swearing them off, like saying, "You guys are crazy. I'm not going to do this.
Yeah, he comes
you guys
back
are on your own." He
saves the day.
Yep.
Yeah, that one look, and he's just a Loki who's filled with regret, and that's where he is at in this. And that last look, he sees a chance to give himself some glorious purpose, and he does that, and it helps save the day. And they enchant Eliath, and it opens up a portal to the end of time, where whomever's running things at the TVA, or whomever this might be, lots of theories on who it might be. That's the lead into the next episode, and I cannot wait for the finale.
Yeah.
So, how do you think this ends, Eric?
I think you get. I think this is how we get into the multiverse, and I think things fracture when the two of them get together. And my theory, and this is just, I don't know anything. I really don't. I really don't know anything. I haven't read any theories. I haven't, taken any notes or.
You and Jon Snow both.
Right. Nothing. My theory on this is that someone has been working to keep this timeline where they're in charge, and they don't want any other timelines where they wouldn't be in charge. So that's why they've created the TVA. They've done all these different things so that they're in control of whatever it is. And I think when these two Lokis get together, the chaos that they are made for explodes, and everything gets just fractured all over the place. And I think that's where you have the multiverse, explosion.
Start.
If you will.
Yeah.
Yep.
A great theory. Do you have
like a Big Bang.
Do you think? Yeah, that's actually I didn't think about that. That's a really great theory. I like that, because I have been wondering myself, how are they going to create the multiverse? So good theory. I like that. I'm gonna have to send that one to Morgan before he can even listen to this episode. He'll enjoy that. We've been talking theories this week.
Yeah.
So my theory, the big theory throughout the show is Kang. Somehow a timekeeper. Is he in charge of the TVA? As we draw closer to the end of the season, I'm starting to move away from the Kang theory and move to it being a King Loki or the evil Loki, like the main Loki, being the guy that's living in that castle at the end of time. First of all, it's a Loki show.
Yeah.
And we got Ralph Bonard in WandaVision on Mephisto. We got Sharon Carter as the power broker in Captain America and the Winter Soldier. So if that's the pattern, it's going to be somebody we already seen, and we've already seen lots of Lokis, and there's still one more Loki left for us to see, I believe. So
yeah,
I think, and then so why is he doing what he's doing? I think because he knows Lokis are Nexus beings and that they can hop across timelines. They can, in the multiverse, if possible, or whatnot, they can be the ones to stop them. And so he created the TVA in order to clip any Loki branches, and that's why you only see Loki's survive in the void, because he knows they have, if they get clipped and they get sent there, then they're not going to get past Goliath. They just will survive.
Yeah.
And so what he never counted on is two Lokis teaming up and not betraying each other.
Right, because they never work with anyone.
Because they always betray each other. And so that's my theory. I think it's going to be Loki at the end, another Loki. And then I also think Mobius is a Loki variant.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And if it does end up being Loki at the end, I think what better way to start hunting these Lokis with the TVA than with a Loki expert. And you brainwash a Loki variant and transform him into your own Loki hunter, because he's been the one that's hunting Lokis. And so I think that might come out, and Owen Wilson has freaking killed every scene he's in. That scene that when they're having a campfire and he says it's never too late to change, and that's the impetus for classic Loki, to have that last doubt in his mind and to change it. And so Mobius is the freaking man in this show.
Yeah. No, I don't. I think that's a brilliant theory as well. I really do. It's
the first time I said it out loud, and I'm impressed I said it as well as I did.
It's really it really does sound pretty great. I think this is just like a little splinter in my mind that I've had for a while. The guy who plays Casey, Eugene Cordero, he's just had a couple of, I know I miss Casey. It would not surprise me if they bring him back as like the big bad, like, because you've looked past him in both episodes that he's in. He's just this.
He turns around. They go into the house and he turns around and he goes, "I know what a fish is," or something. Right.
So it wouldn't
he
surprise
has been
me.
Missing.
It wouldn't surprise me if they pull a big,
That would be huge. That'd be a double Ralph Boner.
Just something goofy, but I don't know. We'll see.
Anyway, at the end of this episode, I was kind of in tears because I could see my childhood comic reading come to life. And so that's how I think it'll end. It has been confirmed for season 2. So how does that set up a season 2? I don't really know, but they're going to break the multiverse somehow. And I like your theory that it'll be the two Lokis destroying one Loki, and maybe that rock will hit a ton, that rock explodes and it just breaks open the multiverse. And we get What If, and then we get some Shang-Chi stuff, and Eternals may somehow play into this, which we skipped questions last week because we ran long, and I want to make sure we get her questions in, because Dylan Marie, the fantastic editor of our trailer, thank you again, Dylan Marie. Check out her YouTube channel. She wrote in, and some of this is something we've already talked about, but definitely want to still give her the credit, because these are some nerdy stuff right here. She says, "Who do you think is behind the sacred timeline?" And she asked this like 2 weeks ago, so this is before episode 4. Or maybe it was right after episode 4. It was before episode 4 review came out. But she says, "Who do you think is behind the sacred timeline, and could they be linked with the Eternals?" Interesting. I don't think that they will be linked with the Eternals, because again, I think it's King Loki or whatever you want to call him.
Sure.
And the Eternals are more linked to the Celestials, but the Celestials aren't necessarily ever really linked to the TVA. So no, I don't think that they'll be linked to the Eternals. But super nerd credit here for you, Dylan Marie. In the cosmic Ghost Rider, Thanos as a baby, abandoned and almost killed by his mother, was taken to a different timeline to save his life. Could that be the timeline they are trying to save? especially since if Thanos had been killed by the Ghost Rider as planned, then the Marvel timeline we know would be gone. The blip and all the time stones would be meaningless. Huge nerdiness there. Scale of 10. I'll give you a 10 on that one, Dylan. So no, again, I think this is King Loki or evil Loki at the end of time, and he's figured out how to get the TVA to be his puppets, pretty much.
Right. Yeah.
But then she also said, pausing after the credits scene, we see what looks like the Avengers New York Tower behind all the Lokis. Now the question is, where and when are they? So she asked this before. This was already answered in the episode, but hopefully you got your answers in while watching episode 5, Dylan Marie, because man, what an episode. I loved it so much. I'm so sad this is only 6 episodes, but I think it's making it like that it should only be 6 episodes because it's taking that amount of time to tell the story. And so well, we will also see that Marvel hasn't necessarily stuck the landings in their finales after really strong performances leading up to the finale. So we'll see. I'm excited. Can't wait for it. Wednesday next week. Going to be tuning in. So
absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Any last thoughts?
Yeah, I'm enjoying the series. I'm loving it. Just kind of reiterate what you're saying. If it only takes you 6 episodes to tell the story, then
it's your saying.
Do 6 episodes. And so far there hasn't been any fluff. It's been all go, go, go. And I've loved every minute of it. So
yep. It's been all Loki Boney over here. So that's my new favorite term. And with that being said, thank you nerds for tuning in. We'll see you next week on the finale of Loki season 1. Bye.
Bye.